As much as I love Animal Crossing New Horizons, pretty much since its release, I have been making videos suggesting my own thoughts and ideas of what could improve it and make it better. Items and concepts that should return, quality of life upgrades, and even new ideas. However, it is quite rare that something of that nature comes to fruition for me, seeing as I am no game developer. I can name a total of 2 times when this has actually happened, and both times were something that I said on the Highly and Gamescast podcast. The first was when the question was, what Zelda game would you love to see come to the Switch? And I said they should bring Link's Awakening to the Switch, possibly as a remake. And then we got Link's Awakening. The second was concerning Pokemon, in which I said, hey, I think it would be very possible for them to make DLC for Sword and Shield, to which everyone was pretty unanimous on, that seems like a stretch for them. Not even a week later, they announced DLC. But other than those 2 things, nada. I'm just not really that good with predictions or having my ideas come to light. That is part of why this past Animal Crossing Direct was so beyond satisfying. There were so many ideas I had mentioned in videos that came to life right before my eyes. And at the severe risk of sounding prideful and vain, that's what we're discussing today. Hey y'all, I'm the Geek Apprentice discussing some of the amazing awesomeness of that recent Animal Crossing Direct. Hopefully this video does not come across as pretentious, but today I've got a list of 5 things that at some point, whether during a Highly and Gamescast podcast or in a video of my own, I said should totally come to New Horizons and did. Specifically in the previous Direct, I've of course mentioned Brewsters before, and it always kind of felt like that was going to happen at some point, and that was announced. Well, not announced, but it was in the announcement in the September Direct, so we all knew it was coming on October 15th. Now, to be fair, I was lucky. It's not as if I had scoured certain data mining stuff for tweets and interviews to find all of this information, but that doesn't make me any less excited. And to be sure, there are several things in that Direct that I never would have considered, but I'm happy to have. So anyway, here's a list of 5 things that I had said at some point in a video or podcast should come to Animal Crossing that actually did. The first and most obvious is Gyroids, and I certainly was not alone in this one. Pretty much any Animal Crossing fan that had played the installments prior to New Horizons was super jazzed about Gyroids returning. Those weird little noise-making mechanical devices were just such a fun part of the previous installments. I remember my mom would just completely fill her house with them, and they would be the craziest of sound. She wouldn't even have music on, which for those who don't know, when music plays, they sync up to the music, and it's super cool sounding. Needless to say, her house sounded chaotic, but she loved them. And now I'm wondering if we're going to be able to place them on the island. I hope we do, because there's going to be some insane islands. Like with many things on this list, this was not something I predicted or some new idea of mine, just something that I and many fans wanted so bad, so it's not as if this is unique to me or anything like that. But here we are getting new, cool, customizable gyroids after really kind of a year and a half of begging for them. Delving a little bit into vanity, I have to bring up Harriet from Shampoodle. Okay, we're not getting Shampoodle, but I've been saying since its release that New Horizons needs to have Harriet, and most people would argue, rightly so, we can do our own hair, what's the point? And I kept saying she can give us more. There's no reason not to have her. And I always suggested ways that she could come back as her own installment, which is something I'm going to get to later. I'm not going to lie, I am super duper proud of this one because I've been begging for her for a while. I just knew she had a way to come back, and I'm so happy to say that she is coming back. This is a different kind of pride for me, if you will, but several months ago, I had made a video suggesting the idea of a city island. A place where all these people like Leaf and Kix and Harriet from Shampoodle could have their own setups so that we can travel to a different island so we don't take away from the feel and overall vibe and concept of New Horizons, but still get this nice shopping district, if you will. My thinking, of course, was Animal Crossing City Folk. It's not a city, but we are getting all of the shops as vendors on Harv's island, which makes so much better use of his island, in my opinion. You can kind of tell they had that planned from the get-go. When I saw that all of these characters were going to be setting up shop, so it would just be super easy for us to go there and we don't have to wait till they come to our island, my mind was blown. When my mom saw my video about the city island concept, she kept saying, yeah, we need that. So to see this was like, oh my gosh, we're getting that. Not in the way that I had conceptualized, but better, because it's far more befitting of the entire vibe and concept of New Horizons. And let's be honest, it was sorely needed. Sometimes you don't have other people that have what you need, so therefore they can't send you anything and you don't want to wait and just keep skipping days till Leaf is on your island. This is just going to make such a big difference, and I'm so happy to be able to say in a sort of prideful way that, yeah, I had mentioned this being a thing, and I know I wasn't the only one. Obviously, I'm sure plenty of other people had this idea too, but it was so cool to see that come to light, because I was like, I imagined this, I kept saying we need this, and it's here. That's so cool. That never happens to me. I am one of the few people who actually quite enjoyed Happy Home Designer, as I'm someone who just likes the customization aspect of a lot of games. Obviously, it doesn't suffice as an Animal Crossing game, but I enjoyed it on my new 3DS XL nonetheless. And once again, here we have something that I have mentioned from time to time, either here or on the podcast, as something we need, whether as its own game, or as a job we could do, or as a way to make our own houses better. There were definitely a few things from Happy Home Designer that had already come with the base New Horizons game, but several other aspects that I wondered why they weren't included. And now here they are. And the fact that it gives us a job and something to work towards, way better than I could have ever imagined. I would have been happy just to have it as a separate game, but to have it basically as a separate game added into what I already have. Paid DLC, yes, which another thing I said was paid DLC would probably come at some point, is beyond awesome. Now, before we used to be able to work for Brewster. I don't know if that will happen again. Maybe we'll get more details later and more small free updates, because they didn't say no more free updates. They said no more big, massive free updates. So there might still be little ones. Just note that. But maybe this will suffice as our job. Sure, all of this new additional stuff is going to mean a lot more loading screens because of the flying. I'm okay with that. I, for one, am very excited to get Happy Home Paradise, as I, like I said, did enjoy Happy Home Designer, and thus I think it's gonna really, as I think Daniel said in his reaction video, breathe new life into this game. This direct as a whole was just a complete resurrection of the game. Just a few honorable mentions here, but literally the night before this direct, 3 of us hosts from the Highland Games podcast were talking about things we would like to see, mostly Daniel and I, because Jesse doesn't play Animal Crossing, but I had mentioned, why doesn't Cap'n come back? He had his own island, and I love that he sings and such. We have Cap'n now. DLC is something I've been saying for a while would probably come, specifically paid DLC, and Happy Home Designer is paid DLC, and thus I could see more of it coming in the future, maybe a Pocket Camp type thing, perhaps. This one is technically my mom, but I had made a video saying that the direct might appear on October 15th, as that is Brewster's birthday, but that was not my information I found. My mom told me about it, and I made a video on it, so actually that honorable mention goes to my mom. When it comes to the storage unit, I'm pretty sure every fan at some point has said, hey, wouldn't it be nice if we could access our items and our money, so including the ATM, without having to go into the town hall or my house? Save me a loading screen? And now we can. I never really made it its own big deal in a video, even as its own part of the list, but here we have it. So that's pretty much all of these little ones is an honorable mention for everyone. All of these things I'm saying, I'm sure someone else has said. I'm just taking a little bit of a yay, I predicted something, kind of. I hoped for something and it came true. And finally, something I genuinely never thought would happen, but sincerely wanted to happen, designing our villagers' homes. Now, one of the key things that's really cool about this, in my opinion, is that you're going to have to work your way up to it by doing your job in the DLC Happy Home Paradise. What they said in that direct was after a certain number of house designs you've made, eventually your villagers are going to want you to make them a vacation home. And then you'll be able to incorporate that stuff into your own home. And then after that, you can suggest remodeling your villagers' homes. I know I'm not the only one who has decided to not have certain villagers on my island because I did not like the way their house looked either outside, inside, or both. Even now, I have Brocolo on my island. I love him, but the inside is all kitty furniture and I don't like it. So to me, this was a little bit of a pipe dream coming to fruition. I had mentioned this in the podcast before, certainly had discussed it with my mom and my brother multiple times, that it would be cool if we could redesign our villagers' homes like we did in Happy Home Designer, even though they weren't our villagers, and kind of like what we do in Pocket Camp, where we can choose what they wear. It's pretty cool. And now that we're getting it, it makes perfect sense. Why on earth would we have Happy Home Paradise and not be able to bring that over to our island? This way, it's not just some random separate thing, but they make sense and go together, and it has value and interest in your own home island. So what do you guys think? Am I being a little bit prideful here? I hope not. That's not the intention. Just that these were things that I had been saying for a while we needed, whether I made a whole video about it, it was in a list video, I mentioned it in the podcast, or just discussed it with people at random, and now they're here. And I think there was a part of me that thought, none of this will actually come to fruition. That's crazy. There's no way. Like, I'm not good at making predictions like that. I don't know what they're gonna do. This is just pipe dream and I can't put too much weight on it, you know? Let me know in the comment section below if there was anything in that direct, including the stuff I've said, that you've been saying for a while the game needs to have, and just how much excitement that brought you. To be sure, I definitely have more Animal Crossing direct related videos coming, so be looking forward to those. If you enjoyed the video, maybe consider joining the Geekdom by subscribing, liking the video, following over on Instagram at The Geek Apprentice, and if you want to support even more, a little bit bigger way, you can head on over to patreon.com/thegeekapprentice, where I've just changed the tiers slightly to offer things a little bit more consistently and better, I think. We've actually had some patrons sign on since I made those changes, and it's quite exciting. Thank you, by the way, to all of my patrons, especially those in the highly end tier, Joking Batman and Code and Data. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I am so ever grateful for y'all's support. But that's all for today. Thank you for watching.